Hey, so we're going to do our fifth and final lesson now, and in this lesson we're going to really get in depth on the storyboard, and we're going to create some table view cells, and we're going to add image views, and we're finally going to get our project to the end, and it's going to look nice, so let's go. If you guys recall, we're building this app, and this is what we want the end project to look like with authors, their picture, and their name. And you click on it and it has all the quotes by the author. And that's what we're working towards. Right now we have an app here. I had to pause it to run the app. we have the app here, and there's no authors bar at the top. And Mark Twain's name is on there twice because he's twice in the array. So let's fix up this screen a little bit before we move on to the quote screen. Before we take that deep dive, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what a storyboard is. So it's the drag and drop editor for Swift UI. We've been around. We know that much at least. The inspectors in the sidebar can edit and inspect the items. So isn't it crazy that an inspector can inspect? But yeah, so if you look at the we're going to go to the main storyboard here, and when you go in these cells, there's all different kinds of things that you can change about the cells, such as background color, tints. A lot of times you can change the text style. If you drag a label on there, you can change the text in here. This you can kind of see the constraints, auto resizing, how auto layout works, which is it's kind of finicky. We'll get there. And then this controls the outlets, which if you're adding a table view onto your app, you'll need to know how to do outlets and set the delegates, which I have a video in table views as well if you want to check that out. And then in here, it's mainly what I use this for is to do the custom class and to change the class to one of these that's in the view or the controller, which we're about to do with the author, because here in the author, there's no way that we can just add an image and have it formatted the way that we want to. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to drag and drop the image and the label onto here and then get auto layout to do the rest of the work for us. And the storyboard also controls segues, and you can make them programmatic or in the storyboard. I like to create a link in the storyboard, as we'll see, and then call on it programmatically, because I like that it's reusable. If you just drag and drop and say, hey, go to this, make this segue, then you can't reuse that segue that you've created. So we'll see how that works. And then the bar in the bottom right controls the layout of the items, which we haven't really had to work with auto layout yet, but we will right now. And we're going to go into our storyboard, and in here we're going to go into the library, and we're going to add a UI label, and we're going to put that in there. And then we're going to have a UI image view, which is just another library item, and it displays an image, which you probably could have figured out intuitively. To give us a little more space, we're going to go into this cell. We're going to drag it down a little bit, or a lot. But so when the app starts, it's not going to use this link that we've set. It's going to use auto layout. So for this, we want the image view but now we're going to bring this in a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing, because the drop down menu. But we're going to click on this image view and select it, and we're going to make the constraints here. We're going to check the height and the width box that we want to. So far the values here are what it is currently, and it's saying like, hey, do you want to make it the way it is currently? But no, I want it to be 80 by 80 image, and it's not going to update just yet because we haven't added constraints to the cell. Now the constraints to the cell are also in here, and we kind of want to make it stick to the right side. So we're going to put 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. Make sure it's not negative, because it'll go further away off the screen for -3 pixels. We're just going to put 0 so it sticks to the side. And once we add those constraints, you'll see that it does adjust. My mouse is going crazy, but it adjusted. The image did adjust. We're going to go into this label here, and we're going to make that conform to our same auto constraint layouts. And we want it to be 0, 0. Just have it stick to all sides of the super view, and then add those. So there we go. Now let's run our app and see how it's going. Okay, so it's clearly trying to display label here, and it's giving room for the image view, so it's promising. We just have the text in here. It just says for the cell label text or whatever, in the author view controller, the cell text label. And that's different from the label that we've created. So we're going to have to link up the label we've created. And the interesting thing about this, we're going to have to create a table view cell file, Swift file, because if we drag an IB outlet on here, which would be kind of, the knee-jerk obvious solution, is to drag an IB outlet on here for the label and then to link it up to the text. Now, we can't do that in this situation because if we put an IB outlet here, then we would we can't use IB outlets for reusable values. So if we go into the view folder and we create a new file, and it's Cocoa Touch class, and it's author table view cell, and we want to make sure it's a subclass of the table view cell. Don't create the sib file, and we're going to save it in the view, and there it is. And we don't need this boilerplate code. All we need to do is link it up to our storyboard. Click the cell, we go into the custom class editor here, and we want to link it up to author table view cell. It says inherit module from target, that's what we want. And we're going to open up the assistant editor, and gotta kind of fumble around with it, select the cell, and then go here. Yeah, we can just manually find it. A lot of times when you select something, it'll automatically do it for you. Under manual right here, it says, see, look, there it is, table view controller. But it's selecting the view controller. We just need the table view cell. So the automatic thing is kind of finicky. See, look, here's the table view cell now. Like it's a little, sometimes you gotta click around a little bit to get it to work. And then right after I get it to work, I accidentally clicked off of it, and now we have to go back and do this again. Right, and it's a blast, guys. Now what we want to do is we want to select this image view, and we're going to hold down Control, and we're going to Control drag over here to create an outlet, and it's going to be author image, and it's an image view. Over here, I'm going to drag, it's going to be the author label. So there we go, we've created these two outlets, and we don't need this, this assistant editor anymore. We're going to close out of that. We're going to go down to our author table view controller, and we're going to change this. But first we want to change what the cell itself is. So we want to say with identifier author cell, yes, all that stuff is still correct. But we want to cast it as the author table view cell. And as you're typing, it should fill this in. If it doesn't fill it in yet, you want to go just up to product and then build. And right now it's not letting me do this because you're supposed to force downcast these objects. But yeah, so now it's going to come in and it's going to treat this cell object as it is a member of the author table view cell. And so we ran the build succeeded. So now we're going to go into cell dot author label. We're going to set the author label to what we're putting in the author array, the author name. But we also have to add the text property. And then we're going to go into the cell dot author image dot image. We're going to make that equal to a UI image. And when you type in the parentheses and then named, and then you want to give it a string name. And in that string name, we want to do the same name as the author, just to simplify it. And then when we go into the assets, when we add all these pictures into the assets, we're going to use the exact name that we typed into the array, just to make it all work cohesively with a limited amount of code and make it readable and everything. So in order to do that, we're going to say the same thing that we did up there. So indexPath.row dot author name. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag all the photos that we have into the assets folder. We're going to drag and drop the assets that I already have here into the assets area. So you might want to go on GitHub and download the completed project and drag and drop the assets. Otherwise, I just Google search the icons of these people, and I'll just show you how I did that really quick. Just Google images, let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger, and under tools we go to size and we say icon. There's some funny pictures, but I think it was this one, whatever, just, you know, a normal one. But I do love all the creativity here. Now that's that, and next thing we're going to do is you're going to see if that works. So let's run the app and see how it goes. And as you can see here, right here, we have the images and everything is working. We're just missing the, see the Mark Twain here is mentioned twice, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, and the best way to do this is to turn this array into a set. Now, a set is, you know, it's just like an array, but it doesn't allow duplicates. And there's a few other functions that you can perform with sets that we're not going to get into right now, but just know that it groups everything together and you don't need, it's going to eliminate the duplicates from the app. So we're going to create a function that's update array. I like to keep everything separate so that we can call on it again, you know, whenever you need it. We're going to end up putting it in the view-did load here. And by the way, we don't need this boilerplate code here, so let's just go ahead and get rid of that. In here, since author array is a variable, we can modify it. We're going to take author array and we're going to change it into a set. And so in order to do that, we need to select array to use its options in here. And we're going to make it a set. Actually, we want to capitalize that. And then select our author array. So right here we're basically casting our author array into a set and then back into an array. And in order to do this, it requires that the quote object conforms to Hashable. What does that mean? If you want to look up Hashable, go into the Apple developer documentation. Show you how to get there. Just Hashable Swift documentation, and it should pull up developer Apple Swift standard library. Just, you know, if you want to go through and see exactly what it is. You can also use this developer documentation for anything. A lot of times I'll just Google it. Documentation whatever you're looking for. So, and it's Swift, documentation Swift, and then what you're looking for. You should be able to find it pretty quickly. Stack Overflow is also a good site to get these answers from. StackOverflow.com. You can search things like Hashable Swift, Swift set array, and there's all kinds of different questions that you can get. So make sure you check out these results, especially when you Google things. If you see Stack Overflow, if you see the Swift documentation on something you Googled as one of the first results, I suggest you check it out. That'll be the best way to get the answer you're looking for. Now let's go back into the app. In order to conform to Hashable, we're going to have to go into our model, into our quote object, and we're going to make Hashable the superclass. And it's going to say type quote does not conform to the protocol equitable, which is part of Hashable. So it's going to say, do you want to add protocol stubs? Click fix, and now it doesn't conform to the protocol Hashable. And in order for it to do that, it doesn't really tell you this one obviously, but you got to create a function that is hash into hasher and out hasher, and then you don't even need to put anything in there, but you just have to include the function and the possibility that it's there. It just makes them happy. So I'm going to add some spaces. I like to keep a little bit of space between each function. Now in here, just have to set return to the hs.authorname equals rhs.authorname. And this is, in here you'd put the things that you're going to group, kind of. And in order to do that, we have to add another equal sign to make it equals. Now when you use one equal sign, it means you're trying to change one object into another. Now when you use two equal signs, if you're new to coding, that means that we want them to equal each other in a more like traditional math equals terms. So now this should conform to Hashable, and build it. Make that go away. Yes, there we go. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to call update array in this viewed load. And then we're going to play and see how it goes. Yeah, you can create functions all you want, but if you don't call them in the viewed load, then it's not going to do much. And here we go. There we go. Everything's grouped. The Mark Twain is only mentioned once. One thing we could do is to sort it by author name, just to add a little bit of congruency. So do the author array once again equals author array dot sorted, and here we're just going to create something called a closure. That's another one of those. There's so much documentation on closures. Just know that it's the brackets that go right after something, and it basically calls like a function within whatever you're using. And author name is less than, and this is it's an explicit way of sorting by author name. Now, and also the simplest way to do it, because you could have wrote a long closure there, and this is just the most presentable and less labor intensive way to do this. And speaking of that, we're trying to be lazy here. Like that is a core tenet of programmers. We want to be lazy. We don't want to repeat ourselves. And so right here, you may have noticed earlier that we repeated ourselves in using the author array here. And when you see something like this, when you see yourself repeating yourself in any part of the code, you might want to consider creating a constant or variable. And that is what we're going to do now. We don't want to call it author name because it's going to be just like the our author name object, and we might get confused, or someone else looking at it might get confused. So we're just going to call it name, and we're going to make that equal to author array index path dot row dot author name. And just down here we can just call it name named name. So there we go. That should return the same thing. And now let's run. All right, and here we go. Everything is sorted by name, sorted by first name. But yeah, sorted by name, and there's no duplicates. So yeah, we did good. Everything's ready. The next step is going to be to add a navigation controller and to set up the quotes page. So I'll see you on that video.